Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a minute since my last post, but I hope it was worth the wait, and I hope everyone's doing well. This is the first video in a three-part series covering characters from one of my childhood faves. Please watch as I paint up this custom print for my take on Bebop. So I'm super excited to finally be getting around to this build. Now, like most of you out there, my 2023, or at least the tail end of my 2023, was of course busy spent with family and friends during the holidays and stuff. So I never really had a minute to sit down and start painting these guys up. But guess what? It's a new year. My time is free. So now I can sit down and finally get these guys finished up and move on to my next project. Now, TMNT, or Ninja Turtles, is a property that I've been a fan of, since the cartoon debuted back in the late 80s. And of course, my two favorite characters from the show were are Bebop and Rocksteady. I fell in love with their designs from the minute I saw them, and I've been a fan ever since. So much so that I've always been bummed that they never debuted on the big screen until just, a few years ago. So that was part of the reason why I wanted to revisit these guys. Now, back when I first started in clay, one of my very earliest sculpts was, of course, Rocksteady. And, I had always intended to go back and add Bebop. You can't have one without the other. But, I never got around to sculpting Bebop. So I thought, this is a good time to revisit them and just do new versions of two of my favorite characters. So let's get started. For starters, I blocked in the skin with a beastly brown. I tried to barbarian flesh it first, but it ended up being too light, so I came back and painted over it with the brown. After blocking in the skin, I started by shading in areas with a dark flesh tone. I wanted to add some warmth to his skin, so I painted certain areas with a red terracotta, focusing mainly on the stomach, cheeks, and fingers. Before moving on, I wanted to add just a bit more depth to the shading. For this, I used a hex lichen, which is just kind of a really dark purple. The last thing to address is adding in some highlights, and for that I just used some barbarian flesh, and I just painted in the areas I felt could use a little bit lighter skin tone. Okay, so now that I've got the skin tones blocked in, I've sealed everything with a clear coat and let it dry for about 24 hours or so. So what I want to do now is shift my attention to the details of the face, and for that I'm going to use a brush. So real quick, I'm going to get my paint set up off to the side here, come back, get those details knocked out. Then I'm going to do a little bit of freckling over all the skin, get that sealed up again with a good clear coat, and then come back and I can finally focus on those final details in the face like his beard and glasses. So let me get set up and I'll be right back and we'll keep going. Now for this detail work, I used a mixture of the various skin colors as well as adding in some light flesh, dark vermilion, and off-white into the mix. Now I used a wet palette for this because it keeps the paint soft and easy to mix. Then I just went around the face and added color to the areas I thought could use some love. I applied the same process here as well, using various skin tones and reds to add more interest to the lips and mouth, then blocked in the teeth using a desert yellow. Off camera, I applied a wash to the teeth just to grunge them up a bit. Okay, so I'm finally done with the skin, mouth, and teeth, and I've given it a coat of clear and let it dry for about 24 hours. So now what I want to do is just go ahead and finish off the head. So I'm going to come in, paint the mohawk and beard, chain, jewelry, all that stuff, give it another coat of clear, and then we can be done with the head and set it off to the side. And then we can just kind of focus on the body from that point on. So I'm going to step off camera real quick, get my paint set up, and I'll be right back. To block in the beard, I used a blue violet, then mixed a little white and a touch of dark vermilion and dry brushed over the high spots just to make those details pop. So for these last few details, I started by painting the glasses a nice Oxford blue. Then I painted the chain steel and finished the jewelry with a custom gold mix made from metal colors, copper and gold. One of the last things to do on these arms before moving on is to paint the fur, and I started by painting the fur leather brown, followed with a dry brushing of golden brown and a dark sand. Alright, so let's move on to the pants. So I had a couple of different ideas that I wanted to do for the pants. The first one I thought would have been cool would have been a kind of acid wash style blue jean. But when I was looking up reference for acid wash jeans, it actually just kind of looked like dry brushed jeans. So I was like, you know what? I don't really want to do that. So I thought, well, what else can I do? And I thought, well, maybe a bleached effect would look pretty cool on these, because I just want to break up the monotony. These jeans are black and the boots are black. I just wanted to add a little bit of visual interest to that. So I thought bleaching the pants would look pretty cool. And I got to thinking, well, how would I go about doing that? And I ended up picking up these little spritz bottles here online and just mixing in a little bit of water and some white paint and thinning it down to almost kind of the consistency of a wash. I painted the pants black, and then just from a distance I spritzed the pants to see what it looked like, and it actually turned out pretty cool. I've got an example right here. So this was a pair of jeans that I printed that I wasn't happy with, so they became my test subject for this exercise here. And you can see it looks pretty cool. You know, the speckles on there kind of look like little bleached spots on his jeans. Now, if you wanted a more traditional style bleach, this wouldn't work. This is about as bright as you can get with the spritz bottle and stuff. So if you wanted something more traditional, I think you probably want to do like an airbrush treatment or even come in with like a paintbrush and, you know, dab your paint on and then hit those spots with some water so they bleed out into the whatever color you painted your pants and stuff. So, but for this exercise, I think it worked great. It was just enough to break up all the black that's going to be on his pants and stuff. So I'm going to get my paint set up off camera, come back, we'll paint the jeans black, then we'll come back and put down a drop cloth because the white can be a little messy, you know, spritz up the jeans, see how it looks, and then once I'm happy, we'll get the pants sealed and we can move on to the rest of the build. So obviously I blocked the pants in already. Sorry if you were looking forward to that step. And then I just blasted the pants with the whitewash I made. I'm not gonna lie though, I thought I overdid it there for a minute, but once it dried, I think it turned out really good. With the bleach effect done and sealed, it's time to turn my attention to the details, and it was as simple as painting the leather pockets a pure black and painting the buckles, rivets, and zippers steel. Okay, so one of the final steps in finishing off these arms is I actually want to paint the blades on the knives a nice chrome steel. Now to do that, I'm going to use Alclad II's lacquer-based paints. Now when using these paints, you want to make sure you're taking the proper safety precautions when using them, especially if you're using them inside. 1. Make sure you're protecting your airways and wear a mask, preferably one with a filter, but if you have a respirator, that's even better. 2. Make sure the area that you're working in is as well ventilated as you can get it. Open all the windows that you have, doors, whatever it takes to allow these fumes to escape to the outside. So what I'm going to do now real quick is I want to hop off camera, do a little bit of masking on the gloves and stuff just to protect the skin tones that I've worked so hard to paint. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and start laying down the base coat. And I'll talk about the process for painting the chrome, while I'm actually painting the chrome. So let me hop off camera, do my thing real quick, and then I'll come back and we'll start painting. So for the chrome to work properly, you have to first base coat the piece with a high gloss black. I use Alclad II's gloss black, but you can use any rattle can as well. Just make sure it's nice and glossy. You'll want to start by laying down a dust coat first, then come back and apply a nice wet coat. Just be careful, don't go too heavy or you'll get runs. The main event, of course, is the chrome itself. Now for this to work, you have to lay down several light coats. It won't be apparent at first, but then all of a sudden, boom, you'll have a nice chrome effect. Do too many though, and it'll just turn silver. Last step is to seal it with a clear coat, and for that I'm using Alclad II's Aqua Gloss. Now unfortunately, any clear coat that you use will slightly dull the chrome effect, some more so than others, so just keep that in mind when you're selecting a clear coat. Okay, so now that his arm's done, it's time to shift my focus back to his upper body here and get his vest painted. So I have something pretty cool planned for this part of the build, and I'm actually really excited about it. But I'll talk more about that when I get there. So what I want to do now is hop off camera real quick, mask off the areas I don't want to get paint on, and then I'll come back and start blocking in his vest. For the vest, I started laying down a base coat of dark red. Now, just like the gear for my World War I spawn, I had to dry brush it white first so the dark vermilion would cover properly. Then I painted the fabric around the zippers and t-shirt panel pure black before sealing it with a clear coat. Alright, So I've finished up the majority of the vest, and now it's time to move on to the most anticipated part of this build, at least for me. So why am I so excited? Well, let me show you. I had custom water slide decals made. So yeah, I'm really excited about this part. Now I've been wanting to experiment with water slide decals for a while now, and there are tons of how-to videos out there for making your own at home. But after looking into it, it just made more sense, for me at least, to find somebody else to do it. The main reason being most at-home printers don't print in white, and I didn't really see a reason to invest in one that does. Now, a quick Google search brought me to a website called Bedlam Creations, and he makes water slide decals as well as custom vinyl cut decals, and I'll drop a link in the description below. It's a super easy process, just to select the paper size that you want, upload your designs. Josh, who runs the site, will then prep a proof for you to approve. Once you're happy, you'll print them up and get them mailed out to you. And they're just as good as any water slide decals that you would get with any store-bought model kit. Now, in the process of sculpting Rocksteady, I ended up branding his sidearms with the foot logo, which you can see right here. And I thought, well, I can't leave out Bebop. So I remembered the t-shirt panel on his back, and I thought, you know what, this is a perfect opportunity to design some custom water slide decals. Now, when I was researching foot logos, I came across this, which is kanji for foot, and in fact was used on the headbands of the foot soldiers in the 1990 live action film. And I was like, absolutely, that's what I want to roll with. So I sat down and did a couple of designs. This one here being more of a screen printed type design. And then this other one here that I made, I wanted to feel more like a spray painted version. But after getting them both, I think I'm going to go with this one. I really like the look of this. I think it's going to look amazing on his vest. So this is the one I'm going to roll with. Now, they don't come pre-cut, so I'll need to hop off camera real quick, get this decal trimmed up, and then I'll come back and we'll get it applied. So just like any decal, just soak it in some clean, warm water for about 30 seconds or until it starts to loosen from the paper. Then you slide it off the paper back and onto the surface you want, position it as best as you can, then dab it dry with a clean paper towel or microfiber cloth, and that's it, decal applied. Wow, this looks fantastic. I could not be happier with the results, and what a simple process too with the water slide decal. Yeah, this will definitely be something I use on future builds. Couldn't be happier. So I let the decal dry overnight, and then I came in and masked the panel off and just did a flat clear coat over the entire thing just to seal it in real good. So what I want to do now is come in with some satin varnish and just go over the design itself again so it feels more like a screen printed t-shirt, and then come in and finish off the metal details, and we'll be done with the upper body. So we're finally down to the shells. So I base coated these in an intermediate green, then hosed them down in a black wash. Then I mixed the base color with some black and brown and shaded the recesses. Then I added some golden brown to the high spots just to break up some of that green. For the final details, I used the same golden brown to paint in the scratches and pot marks. Then I went over those areas with a textured rust wash, blended them in with a dry brushing of tan earth, then sealed them all up with a coat of Aqua gloss. So we are finally down to the base, and for this one I wanted to keep it simple. A few cobblestones, some asphalt, and of course a New York City manhole cover. And I want to keep the paint job simple as well. The idea being just base coat everything, throw on some washes, and finish it off with some dry brushing, and that should pretty much cover it. For the blocking pass on this base, I started with painting the bricks terracotta red. Then I went back, wetted the bricks, and added leather brown and orange brown just to add some color variation to them. I used the same leather brown for the dirt before painting the asphalt a Panzer gray and the manhole covers a Metal Colors exhaust manifold, which by the way is my new favorite metal color. After applying a black wash to the entire base, I just applied a simple dry brush to bring out those nice details. For the dirt, I used a tanned earth with a little bit of golden brown mixed in sporadically. For the bricks, I used a mix of golden brown and orange brown. And for the asphalt, I just used a medium gray. Finally, for the manhole cover, I just dabbed a rust wash into the recessed areas. Now this took a few coats to get the look I wanted, but once I was happy, then I just added some textured rust wash just to make it feel a bit more soiled. So there you have it. Everything's been painted up and sealed, and I can finally start gluing this guy up. So I'm going to hop off camera and do just that. And I'll be back with my final thoughts. Wow. So here we are. And I can finally say that Bebop is officially done. And I couldn't be happier. I absolutely love how he turned out. This guy as well as Rocksteady have presented their own unique challenges, but I can honestly say it was totally worth it. From sculpting to printing to painting, it's been a journey that actually started back in June of 23. So yeah, it's been what, 10 months in the making? Anyhow, I'm happy to be done and I'm excited to finally be moving on to Rocksteady. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, hit like and subscribe. And until next time, take care everyone.